Before the apocalyptic rainstorm arrived, my boyfriend brought his whole family to seek refuge with me. But the day our food ran out, they kicked me out of the house. I slipped and fell into the flood. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn. In this life, I immediately blocked Malbufan, turned my house into a steel fortress, and hoarded mountains of delicacies. The TV broadcast was on a continuous loop. A sudden, catastrophic rainstorm may occur in the next 3 months. Everyone, please take flood prevention measures. I opened my eyes. The phone on my pillow was buzzing. My fluffy dog, Puff, rubbed his head against my cheek. Only then was I sure that I had truly returned to the time before the rainstorm. In my previous life, it was this exact phone call that started my tragedy. I answered the phone. On the other end was Malbufan's entitled voice, "Yi, I heard you have a large penthouse in the university town. The rainstorm is coming soon. And my hometown is low-lying. My family wants to stay at your place for a few days." He was clearly asking for a favor, yet his tone sounded like he was giving an order. The coldness of being swallowed by the flood in my past life, and the gnawing hunger suddenly hit me, but a more important question emerged. How did Malbufan know that I owned this penthouse? Besides my parents, I had only mentioned it once to my best friend, Li Ruyan. Malbufan started pursuing me in college. He created a perfect persona for himself. An alcoholic father, a sickly mother, 2 young siblings, and the burden of the whole family resting on his shoulders. Back then, I was completely mesmerized by his persona. As a strong but pitiful young man, feeling both pity and affection, I took the living expenses my parents gave me and transferred them to him time and time again, until I got Puff. Once, I took Puff for a routine checkup. A few hundred yuan was nothing to me, but I intentionally asked him to pay the bill, wanting to see if he really treated Puff as family. But he yelled at me, "Yi, are you crazy? My mom and sister just endure it when they get sick. Yet you spend hundreds on a checkup for a dog?" At the time, I actually thought I was in the wrong. The ridiculous part was, the money he had taken from me had already exceeded 100,000 yuans. I was spending my own money, yet I was being judged by him. From that day on, I kept all my family matters a secret, especially this penthouse given to me for my 18th birthday. In my past life, not only did I agree immediately, but I even sent a driver to pick them up. But less than a day after they moved in, under the excuse of helping manage the household, they waited until I fell asleep and forcibly fired my nanny and Wang. After the rainstorm hit, when our supplies ran out, I was wearing only thin pajamas. When Malbufan personally pushed me out the door, the elevators had stopped, and the stairwell was already flooded. Puff was also kicked out into the hallway. I held Puff, desperately banging on my own door in the hallway. But from inside came the sound of his family, eating snacks and laughing at me. I thought the wealthy lady was so precious. Now she still has to beg us on her knees. I only got together with her because of her money, and because she was naive and easy to manipulate. Thinking of this, I didn't hesitate for another second. I blocked and deleted Malbufan and walked to the window. The sky had already turned gloomy, and massive dark clouds were gathering. My first call was to my parents, who were out of town, on a business trip. I told them about the impending rainstorm and my rebirth. Surprisingly, they didn't doubt me at all. My dad immediately gave me full access to the family's main credit card limit, repeatedly urging me to stay safe and saying they would come back as soon as possible. After hanging up the phone, my nose stung. These are my real family who truly love me. Next, I started making plans. This penthouse was 600 square meters. The home theater alone was 100 square meters, which was perfect to clear out and use as a warehouse. I held Puff, pacing back and forth in the room. The little guy rubbed against my chest. I kissed his head. Puff, in this life, we are going to live well. No sooner said than done. I first opened a warehouse supermarket app on my phone. Mineral water, pre-made meals, snacks, canned goods, bread with a long shelf life. My fingers tapped furiously, madly adding everything to the cart. I placed the order directly, adding a note for expedited home delivery. Then, I called my company's bodyguards and took them to those large supermarkets that didn't support online delivery to sweep the shelves. The supermarkets were already getting crowded. Everyone had a hint of anxiety and unease on their faces. Passing the frozen section, I called the supermarket manager over and pointed to a whole row of freezers. I'll take all the ice cream in these freezers. I'll take them all. And the hot pot section. Top-tier Wagyu beef, freshly sliced tripe, handmade shrimp paste. I could already picture the scene when the apocalypse arrived. Outside the window, a monstrous flood, while I was inside enjoying hot pot with the AC on. Lastly, generators. I had the bodyguards go to the industrial market and directly ordered to high power silent diesel generators, along with enough diesel to burn for months. I didn't forget medicine either. I contacted a friend working in the hospital and asked him to purchase a large batch of common medicines and first aid supplies and have them sent directly to my home. High-rise buildings don't fear floods and rainstorms, but the doors and windows must be reinforced. I immediately asked Wang to go to the building materials market to buy the best waterproof strips and alloy baffles. Within these 2 days, all door and window gaps must be sealed tight. The next day, strong winds blew outside. The sky was as dark as evening. I carried Puff downstairs, wanting him to have one last run on the dry lawn in the garden before the storm arrived. Just as I walked out of the lobby, I bumped into Mao Bufan arguing with a security guard. When he saw me, he pushed the guard away and rushed over. Yi! Not answering calls. Blocking me on WeChat. You've grown bold. His greedy gaze quickly swept over the luxurious residential complex behind me. How did you find this place? I called you so many times, and you didn't reply. How could I not be worried to find you? Our whole family took the overnight train here. You have to reimburse my train tickets and lost wages. As soon as he finished speaking, his phone rang. He answered it without hesitation, his voice full of the excitement of claiming credit. Dad, don't worry. I found her. This community is even better than we thought. Hurry up and take a cab over. I've sent you the address. We'll be living here from now on. Hearing the entitled tone of his phone call, hatred surged in my heart. Since you insist on walking right into this, don't blame me for giving you a big gift. While he was on the phone, I unlocked my phone and sent a message to the developer, Mr. Lee. I wanted to buy that vacant to-end floor duplex apartment in Building 8. That apartment had a bizarre layout. The terrace and the living room were separated by only a fragile glass door. It was extremely prone to backflow when it rained. Plus, being on a low floor, it had never been sold. I asked him to have the property management unlock the door and change the passcode to 6666. I would complete the paperwork later. As soon as Mao Bufan hung up, I turned around and led the way. I took him halfway around the complex and stopped in front of that gloomy duplex in Building 8. He pushed the door open, and seeing the empty, unfinished apartment, the smile on his face instantly froze. What's going on? Isn't your family rich? Your place looks like this? Bufan. My parents found out we were together, and they froze my cards. They even blocked you a few days ago. Right now, I only have this unfinished apartment to my name. I've been staying at a friend's house these past few days. This explanation sounded perfectly reasonable, and he couldn't find a reason to refute it. His face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. My parents and the rest are arriving soon. You can't let them sleep on the floor. You go buy some beds. I'll go pick up my parents. He turned around in frustration. I grabbed him. What now? He asked impatiently. I just received a notice from the property management, saying that due to the rainstorm warning, all residents must immediately pay a 20,000 yuan emergency facility maintenance deposit, or they'll cut off the water and electricity. I really don't have any money left in my account. He stared at me dead in the eye. I added, the deposit is refundable. And besides, this house was prepared for our future anyway. We can add your name to the deed. The thought of getting a house in a wealthy neighborhood for free made the greed in his eyes overpower his suspicion. He took out his phone, gritted his teeth, and transferred the 20,000 yuan. I'll front this money for now, but you have to pay me back later. Looking at the 20,000 yuan that had arrived in my account, I sneered. This is just collecting a little interest on the debt you owe me. The rain outside started pouring heavier again. After settling Puff insecurely, I took the money and went out to buy furnishings for Mao Bufan's new home. I went straight to the second-hand market in the urban village. First, I bought 3 folding spring beds. In my past life, they made me sleep on the cold concrete floor. Giving them beds to sleep on in this life is already letting them off easy. Then I bought a second-hand washing machine with a dented casing. In this heavy rain, let them wash their clothes by hand. Finally, I picked up a large blue plastic barrel abandoned by a construction site on the side of the road. There's their bathtub. As for the welcome feast I prepared for them, I bought some fried chicken and cola, and specifically picked out soon-to-expire instant noodles, and a few boxes of obviously bloated yogurt, plus a stomach-churning combo of iced durian and dragon fruit. Toilet paper? I didn't buy a single roll. I even replaced all the packaging with non-absorbent plastic bags. By the time I had the driver haul these supplies back, the sky had gone completely pitch black. A new round of torrential rain was brewing. But to my surprise, the person who opened the door was my good best friend. Liu Ruyan. Mao Bufan stood behind her, introducing her to me. This is my brother's girlfriend. Liu Ruyan. My heart skipped a beat. In my past life, at this exact point in time, Liu Ruyan hadn't appeared at all. Moreover, she clearly knew I lived on the top floor. A chill ran down my spine. Mao Bufan didn't notice my expression. As soon as he saw the pile of junk I had bought, his anger flared up. You spent 20,000 yuan on this garbage? Where is the rest of the money? The rain is so heavy outside, prices for everything are skyrocketing. I had to run to several places just to snatch these up. Do you think it was easy? I snapped right back at him. At this moment, Liu Ruyan suddenly chimed in, Bufin. Don't blame Yi. She's never cooked before anyway. But we still need to buy some eggs and vegetables, right? If we keep eating this stuff, our stomachs won't be able to take it. With just one sentence from her, the way Mao Bufin looked at me immediately changed. It shifted from suspecting me of stealing the money to blaming me for not knowing how to manage a household. Yi, come with me to the supermarket at the community entrance to buy groceries. Saying that, he grabbed my arm and dragged me outside. Outside the stairwell, the rain was smashing down relentlessly. The accumulated water on the ground was already over our ankles. Mao Bufin walked ahead with an umbrella, while I followed behind, quickly taking out my phone to send a message to Aunt Wang. At the community entrance, only the organic fresh food supermarket still had its lights on. By the time we ran over, the female owner was preparing to pull the shutters down and close shop. Aunt Wang, having received my message, was already there, wearing a mask, pretending to pick items among the shelves. As soon as Mao Bufin entered the supermarket, he began sweeping the freshest, organic vegetables and free-range eggs from the shelves into his shopping basket. I had to find a way. I absolutely could not let Mao Bufin bring back any good food. At checkout, I stared at the owner's smooth face and leaned in, feigning surprise. Boss, did you get beauty treatments done? Your skin looks amazing. The owner was thrilled by my compliment and became talkative. Mao Bufin frowned deeply as he listened to this. But seeing the owner decked out in gold and silver, he couldn't throw a fit. He impatiently walked to the freezers in the distance, wanting to see if there were any iced drinks left. Now was the time. Aunt Wang pushed her shopping cart past me. In just that split second, the shopping basket at my feet was swapped without anyone noticing. The crisp vegetables in the basket turned into rotten, blackened leaves. The plump eggs were also replaced with ones that sloshed like rotten eggs. Goal achieved. I quickly paid and pulled Mao Bufin, who was complaining about the lack of ice cola, back into the rain. Returning to the unfinished apartment on the second floor, Mother Mao snatched the shopping bag. Seeing the rotten cabbage leaves and stinky eggs inside, she raised her hand to slap me. You wretched girl. You don't even know how to buy groceries. I tilted my head to dodge it, pointed at Mao Bufin and said, your son picked these out himself. If you want to hit someone, hit him. Mao Bufin's face instantly flushed red. He couldn't possibly admit that he couldn't tell good food from bad. So he could only furiously curse the supermarket owner for being a black-hearted scammer. Liu Ruyan stepped in perfectly to smooth things over, saying we could just wait until the rain slowed down to buy more. We wouldn't starve yet. As she spoke, her eyes remained fixed on me. The 6 pieces of fried chicken for dinner were completely devoured by the 5 of them. I pretended my stomach was growling from hunger, but Mao Bufin shoved a half-empty cup of warm cola into my hands. What are you complaining about? You can use this to lose weight. By nightfall, the rain had grown even heavier. The 3 folding beds were taken by the Mao men. Liu Ruyan and Mother Mao laid out some cardboard on the floor to sleep. My phone quietly lit up. It was a message from Aunt Wang. Yi, the garage is flooding. Come back quickly, the time had come. A boom of thunder exploded outside the window, taking advantage of everyone being startled. I slapped my thigh and stood up. I just remembered. I bought a ton of food online before. Tens of pounds of dried pork, beef jerky, and a whole box of large crabs. They're all in the delivery lockers outside the community. As soon as I said this, the Mao family's eyes lit up. Go get it quickly. If you don't bring it back, you can starve to death outside. I looked at the torrential rain outside that looked like water pouring from the sky, and shrank my neck back, but the rain is too heavy. Mao Bufan took out an umbrella and said to me, "Babe, if you bring it back, our whole family will love you." I pretended to do it for him, took the umbrella, and headed out. I took the elevator to the garage. The rain outside was too intense, and the water in the garage was already up to my calves. I trudged forward step by step, reaching the first floor elevator lobby of another building. I swiped my card and pressed the button for the top floor, and Wang was already waiting at the door, holding a clean bath towel. On the dining table not far away sat a steaming hot meal with 4 dishes and a soup. This was my true life. As for them, just wait and see. My phone suddenly lit up. A text from Li Ruyan popped up. "I'm sorry for what I did to you in our past life." I froze for a few seconds. Past life. She had also been reborn. I clicked on the link attached to the text message. It was a live surveillance feed, showing Mao Bufan's family. At the door of the room, everyone's face was green. They were anxiously pounding on the bathroom door. It seemed that the special combo meal I bought before leaving had taken effect. I replied to Li Ruyan, "What is your goal?" "To help you get revenge, and to help myself." I didn't reply further. How could Li Ruyan be that kind-hearted, even if she had been reborn? It's best to stay far away from those terrible people. I put down my phone and enjoyed the 4 dishes and 1 soup and Wang had made. Accompanied by the sound of the rainstorm outside, I ate this meal with an extra sense of peace. After dinner, Aunt Wang and I planned to make dessert. While making egg tarts, my parents called. The news they delivered made my heart tighten. All flights were cancelled. They couldn't come back for now. I suppressed my unease and made my voice sound relaxed and natural, telling them I had plenty of supplies here and everything was fine. After hanging up the phone, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the apocalyptic scene outside. Clouds and mist shrouded the entire world. The city skyline faintly flickered in the storm. At this moment, for the first time, I truly felt lucky. Thank goodness I was reborn. The continuous rainstorm caused massive flooding. The streets turned into rushing rivers. The water level was rising at a visible rate. The cries coming from the first-floor residents could be heard even through the storm. Every morning, the first thing I did was to turn on the surveillance to watch the Mao family make fools of themselves. During this time, Mao Bufan's family wasn't without thoughts of going outside. But their family's only umbrella had been given to me by Mao Bufan. The whole family held onto the illusion that the rain would stop soon. Psychologically, no one wanted to get drenched like a drowned rat. One early morning, Mother Mao, who was starving and seeing stars, used a few rotten cabbage leaves to boil a pot of watery green sludge. Mao Deshuang went crazy with joy. He was the first to lunge over, grabbed a bowl, and poured it into his mouth. But as soon as it entered his mouth, his face changed drastically, and he spat it all out, spitting right onto Mao Bufan, who claimed to be a germaphobe. Enraged, Mao Bufan kicked the pot over. The 2 brothers instantly started brawling. Liu Rian, who had been hiding in the corner all along, stood up at this moment. She took the last bowl of sludge and dumped it out the window into the murky floodwaters below. It tastes horrible. This action instantly triggered Mother Mao. The two women screamed and started pulling each other's hair. I watched the farce on the monitor and laughed out loud. That night, Liu Rian's message popped up again. They can't hold on much longer. Does what I've done make up for the debt of our past life? Are we considered allies now? I only replied with one sentence, between you and me. There is only debt, no alliance. She instantly flew into a rage out of humiliation. She immediately sent a barrage of voice messages, screaming that she would bring the Mao family to find me, and that I would never have a moment of peace in this life. I sneered and turned off my phone. Sincere repentance? How ridiculous. She was merely trying another strategy to survive. Liu Rian indeed started to act. That night, she leaned in close to Mao Bufan and lowered her voice. I keep feeling that Yi is still alive. We should go find her. Mao Bufan pushed her away violently, his face full of disgust. What kind of crazy spell are you under now? She went out to get a package and hasn't been back for so long. She's definitely dead. Stop bringing her up. Liu Rian was completely snubbed and slinked dejectedly back to her corner. 2 days later, when I opened the surveillance app again, the screen prompted no signal. She had dismantled the camera. My heart sank. That crazy woman, after failing to convince Mao Bufan, would very likely act on her own. She might even team up with others. If she searches building by building, my peaceful days might be over. Thinking of this, Aunt Wang and I decided to go downstairs to patrol. We walked down the stairs. The floodwaters had already reached the second floor. Our building and Liu Rian's building were over 500 meters apart. Unless they had a rubber boat, they couldn't get over here at all. But just as we were about to turn back, passing the 15th floor, behind the fire escape door on the 15th floor, it felt like a pair of eyes was peeping. My scalp prickled. I grabbed Aunt Wang and ran upstairs as fast as I could. Back on the 30th floor, Aunt Wang and I dragged the heaviest solid wood shoe cabinet and pushed it against the fire escape door to barricade it. We lived in fear like this for another month. The floodwaters had already reached higher floors. Looking at the fire escape through the monitor, the shoe cabinet hadn't been moved. However, Liu Rian's messages came again. This time it wasn't a threat, but a lengthy confession. In those densely packed words, she said she knew she was wrong, said she regretted it, and only begged for my forgiveness, asking me to point out a way for her to survive. I looked at those texts and expressionlessly deleted the chat window. Forgiveness? Maybe in your next life. The rain outside seemed to have lightened a bit, but it still hadn't stopped. The sky was always gloomy, making it impossible to tell day from night. The days fell into an eerie calm amidst high vigilance. Aunt Wang and I researched new recipes, practiced yoga in the living room, and our lives seemed completely isolated from the apocalypse. But every night before bed, I would check the fire escape door to ensure the shoe cabinet was still firmly pressed against it. However, one day in the 5th month, when I went to check the fire escape, my heart plummeted. That heavy, solid wood shoe cabinet had actually been moved slightly, an almost imperceptible gap. It was the person from the 15th floor, Or perhaps someone else had come up and tested the door. And Wang and I exchanged a look, both seeing the terror in each other's eyes. From that day on, we never stepped out of the house again. In the blink of an eye, the rainstorm had been pouring for almost 6 months. The rain would fluctuate in intensity, but it never truly stopped. The whole city was shrouded in a gray mist. That day at noon, Aunt Wang and I were eating our homemade beef jerky, when suddenly, a faint but scalp-numbing scraping sound came from the direction of the front door. The click-clack sound sent shivers down our spines. Aunt Wang and I instantly stopped laughing and exchanged a look full of fear. Someone was picking the lock. I immediately made a hush gesture to Aunt Wang, tiptoed over, and silently pressed my eye against the peephole. Through the peephole were 3 faces I couldn't be more familiar with. Li Rian, Mao Bufan, and surprisingly, Mr. Li, the manager who sold me the apartment. They were holding tools, messing around in the keyhole. All 3 looked utterly wretched. So thin they were unrecognizable. Unfortunately for them, the imported Swiss lock cylinder I spent a fortune on wasn't something a few wires could bypass. Mr. Li fiddled with it for a long time, sweating profusely. But the lock cylinder didn't budge. He shook his head at Mao Bufan. Mao Bufan's face turned livid, and he violently kicked the door. "Yi, I know you're in there." Next came Li Rian's tearful pleading from outside. "Yi, I'm begging you. We're starving to death. For the sake of our past friendship, just give us a little food." Mao Bufan also chimed in to beg. Yet his voice was full of threats. "Yi, open the door. As long as you open the door, I'll let the past go. You'll still be my good girlfriend. And I'll treat you well." I turned and walked back to the dining table, continuing to eat my beef jerky and watch my TV show, letting the noise outside go on for a long time. Eventually, everything returned to dead silence. The harassment outside went from twice a day to once every 3 days. And then the 3 people visiting turned into 2. Finally, only Mao Bufan came alone. Until no one came at all. I knew they might have left. Or they might have simply perished. And so, life went on. Until the rainstorm finally stopped one morning. When I woke up that day, my first reaction was that something was wrong. It was too quiet. The sound of the rain had suddenly disappeared. I rushed to the window and pulled open the curtains. Sunlight. The long-lost sunlight stung my eyes. The sky had cleared up. The rain had stopped. It really had stopped. My phone buzzed. My parents sent a message from overseas, telling me they were safe and sound. Flights had resumed, and they would be able to return home soon. That's wonderful. Everything is finally over.